Okay, so the first quick video is resetting the desk. To reset the desk, we press and hold Shift and Mode until Super User is active. You can see Super User just to the left in Mode. That's one of 4 lights that's activated. We then, on the display, we have a number of options. Currently none are selected, so we press the down key and we scroll until things start flashing. So 2 down, load and save is active. That's the one we use to take things, by the way, on and off USB. Scroll down until you get a flashing brackets around reset desk. Press enter. It'll ask you to confirm. Default is cancel. If you press enter, you'll come out of that and get annoyed with yourself. Scroll across to OK, press OK, and that is now complete. That is the desk reset back to standard factory settings, which is what we want for a one-to-one patch as etc. is set up. Okay, so this is the second video, and this is getting the desk into wide mode, which is going to be the mode you probably use the most, especially for quick turnarounds when there's no time to program anything. So we need to be in preset mode. Now, if you can see there, the desk is loaded into super user mode. It could be in any of those 4. To get into preset mode, you hold the mode button for about a second, and it will go into program. Potentially, you hold it again for a second to get into preset. If in doubt, hold it for a second and you'll eventually find the right thing. To get, just to emphasize, to get into super user, it's shift and hold. To come out of it, it's hold, and preset always wants a hold for a second. So we're now in preset mode with flash mode, flash and fade snap. Don't worry too much about those. To set the desk up, you want A master and B master to be at 0 and the memory master to be at 0. So you're setting up with everything at 0 apart from the Grand Master, and do make sure that the blackout is not active, so it's not flashing. You also want to make sure for the preset wide mode, the fade time is manual, as we did on the previous desk, so you bring it down until it clicks to manual. What we then want to do, we are currently in not wide mode, standard mode, preset mode, like our old desk was, which means that the top banker faders and the bottom banker faders are 2 different presets. That's not what we want for the 24 lights we have. So we want to make sure that page A is on 1 to 12, and we want to make sure page B is on 13 to 24. That has now changed the display to A faders and B stored. And what that means is that the A scene, which is controlled by A master, is what's live on the faders, and the B scene, which is currently stored in the memory, and when we've gone into wide mode, it stores a complete nonsense 0 scene, and it's controlled by the B master. Now, that is the desk in wide mode, and we'll do the next video in setting up a scene to come up. Okay, so the third video is setting up your first scene, which will be a live scene, and that will be the A mode. So if you remember, we're currently in A faders, B stored. That's also replicated there just below the yellow button. The yellow button also indicates that we're in wide preset mode. So, to start setting up a scene, you want to bring the A master up to full, and that means that the faders, A faders, is now at 100%. B master, which is the 0 state that's currently stored, is at 0. Remember how we used to crossfade on the old desk? It's exactly the same on this desk. So we're going to start setting up some scenes. Now, what I recommend you always do is keep the LED masters up at full. And that is simply because otherwise you will forget. I've done it myself plenty of times, and you'll be trying to fade some colours up and you'll see no effect. So what we're going to do is set up a very basic preset. I'm going to give you some purple. So that's a combination of red and blue on the front and on the sides, and that is manifested as that. And I'm going to give it a little bit of the backlights. That's 11 and 12, and they are up at about 30%. Now, that scene is controllable live, and if you want to bring that down to a different level, you have control on it because we're in A faders on the A master. To prepare for transferring into the next scene, what you do is you store that scene. And as you can see there, we've switched. So the control now is B faders, A stored, and it says that on the LED, on the LCD screen and on the go button. What that now means is that this scene that we've set up is stored in the memory banks and the faders no longer have control over it. So I can bring these faders down to nothing. As I said before, leave the LED intensity up at full. As you can see, the lights have stayed exactly how they were. They are stored in the B master. Now to swap over and prepare for the next scene, to prepare for the next scene, we can very successfully move any lights we want. So I'm going to give a bit of about 60% front wash, and I'm going to do the 2 overheads, noting that we now have 2 overheads over the stage rather than 1 because we've got spare dimmer capacity, having got rid of 4 of those lovely heat source power cannons. So as you can see, what I've just done has had absolutely no effect, and that is because the B master is what we're in, B faders is at 0, A is stored. So A is the original scene that we set up, that's still at 100%, and the B master is at 0, so that's our second scene, which we've just made on the faders, currently at 0. So to switch into the second scene, there's 2 ways you can do this. The guide tells you the first way, and then I'll give you an extra second way. The way the guide tells you is a simple dipless crossfade, and I'm going to bring the 2 faders across to 0 and 100, and I'll show you what happens. We crossfade into the B scene. So that means that that B scene, which is B faders, is now at 100%, and the stored scene that we created first is at 0. The other way we can do it, I'll bring that back to the preset state. If you want to set up your first wash with a blackout in between for when the show's about to start, we will bring the A master down, the preset down to 0. We've gone to blackout, and then, so as you can see there, everything's at 0. We then bring the B master up to 100%, and we're in that first scene. Okay, so video 4 is Q-Stack. I'm going to show you some trickery for the more committed shows that have the time to come in and set up. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to reset desk, and I've got that ready, and that clears everything out of the desk. Having done that, we then go back to program. So if it drops into run, it's just a click. Program and run are just a click between each other. So we are now ready to program memory 1. We're going to make that the preset fade. Remember, if you do want to start on a blackout, you have to remember to program a blackout. So we're going to do the same scenes as we demoed before, some nice purple and a nice bit of backlight. So that is the same scene as we generated before. As you can see there, the fade time's 10 seconds. I don't particularly want that, so I'm going to turn the fade time to snap, and that's changed to snap there. And it's ready with a red for record, for store, as they call it here. We've moved on to 2 now, which means that 1 is stored. And if we look at the monitor, you can see 1 there has steps and a fade of snap. So we're going to go to a blackout. So we're going to take everything down to 0. Let's give that a nice 3-second fade, or approximately, because the pot isn't particularly kind. And you can see there we've got a 2.9 fade. That's close enough for me. And we will record. And you see the memory has moved on to 3. and you can see there are steps and a fade time on number 2 just above. That's committed. So we'll do number 3, which is the front wash and a bit of top. There we go. That's what we did before. And we're going to store that with, let's give it a 10-second-ish fade. Oh, we got it spot on 10. We're going to store that. That's memory 3. So we see we've got memory 3 stored with a 10-second fade. So if we now swap into run, we're in Q1. It always takes you straight into Q1, and that is what is showing. So if we now hit go, it's important to note when you start with 1, it's next is 1 initially. You have to hit go so that next is 2. Remember that. So when you're ready to start the show, make sure your next is number 2. Also on the monitor, you'll see, as per other desks, there's a convention of colouring for what you're in and what you're next. So on this is yellow, green is what you're in, yellow is what you're in next. So we're going to hit go, and we should go to a blackout. There we go, over 3 seconds. We're now in Q2, next 3, and as you can see, it's programmed with a fade of 10 seconds. And I'm going to hit go, and over 10 seconds the wash has come up. So that is how you use cues. Important to note, for the end of the show, do remember it will go back to cue number 1. So be careful of that. That's useful as well if you want to go back to that preset at the end of the show, but remember, if you're doing that, to include a fade time. So that's the cue stack. Okay, last thing we're going to do is submasters. A quick blast through submasters. So we're going to go into super user, reset the desk, remembering to make sure any existing data is saved if it's going to get reused. Okay, so we go into program mode. If it drops into run, it's just a click to swap between program and run. So we're going to set up a scene. I've already set it up. We've got a nice evil green, foresty, witchy kind of scene. We're going to record that to Submaster 1. So to do that, you use the bump buttons at the bottom of 1 to 24. We're going to use Submaster 1. And you can see there it has selected Submaster 1. It's just clicked over. It was in memories, and by clicking that bump button, it's moved over into Submasters. So we have there in unprogrammed Sub 1. So we're going to store that, and that is now Sub 1 Submaster Pro. I've printed it again, and that's how we overwrite it. So if you want to change it and restore it, you overwrite. So that's now flashing Submaster 1. If we then swap into run mode and clear all of the lighting, it's because I left the time up, it's just faded. So do remember to drop the fade time to nothing. What we now have is a Submaster programmed to page 1. Now, do remember that Submasters only live on the bottom bank, and they swap between the 2, and you switch on page B, switch between. So the way you can see that is like on an ETC desk or many others. You can see that 1 has recorded, and by fading up Submaster 1, we get that nice green scene.